we'll all be blessed by and can relate to and really gauge into, because sometimes the word can feel a bit distant or unrelatable, but he really brings it home, allows us to apply it into this day and age, into our experiences and all of that. So I know you guys have been blessed so far, and tonight he's going to take it away again for us. So I'll hand you over to Pastor Michael Kelly now.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? So good to see you, and thank you so much for those kind words. It's always important and good to know, and it helps us out to know that we're making an impact, somewhere along the lines. So I just want to thank you for just again the invitation and opportunity to come and spend some time with you guys. Let's go ahead and really just get ready to dive in. I love the topics that you guys are picking. It's really neat that I think it's very relevant. It's very real, very easy in times like these to, just do the regular quote unquote stuff that we do, but you guys want to really challenge and push yourselves. And so I'm going to challenge and push us a little bit too. All right. So let's go ahead and have a word of prayer. And then let's start. Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity for us to come together and really just be able to pour in to one another. And we pray, God, that as a result of these discussions and opportunities that we're having with each other, that you would help us to become better, to become sharper tools in your hands, and to become more like you. So we love you, we praise you, and thank you. In Jesus' name, let everybody say amen.
Amen.
So today, you guys, we said we want to talk a little bit about this concept of purpose and all that kind of stuff. And I actually think that this is huge. And I actually want to start with this idea of dating. Okay, I want to start with dating to show you how important I think this is. So when it comes to dating, I think there are really 4 criteria that you need to select or find in a person before. The key word is before you begin to date them. Not after, but before. Let me give you a few of those just very quick, and you'll see how this ties in. When I go shopping, and I compare dating to shopping in this particular sense, when I go shopping, there are 4 things I look for in the individual, right? In an item of clothing. Number 1, I want to see if it's too expensive, if it's in my budget. Some things look very nice and they're awesome, but it's too expensive for what my budget is. And so I always tell people it's super important that as you're getting to know someone, figure out what your budget is, because some of you cannot afford to date. You don't have the emotional budget available. You don't have the time budget available, because dating somebody actually costs. So sometimes what you need to do is, before you even try something on, before you even pick it up off the rack and kind of just look at it, just look at the price tag. And if the price tag does not match your budget, leave it alone. Because there are some of us who actually go into the negative because you're dating somebody you can't afford. And when your account goes into the negative, you keep getting overdraft fees, right? So the first thing you want to look at is, can I afford this thing? If you looked at the price tag is okay. The second thing that I look for is, I want to make sure that it's the right style, right? Like, even if I can't afford it, it might not be my style. Like, I can afford certain clothes from Forever 21 or H&M, but that's not really my style. And so what we need to do is, you need to learn what your style is, and then figure out what somebody else's style is. And a lot of times what I think we need to do is, we need to learn to date ourselves first. Know who you are, what it is that you have to do in life, what your style is, how you match, all that neat stuff within you, so that now you know you. So when you get to know somebody else, you'll be able to figure out, that style of person doesn't match with me. They might be great, they might be cool, but they don't match. There's a whole lot more to it, but I'm kind of giving you guys a very quick rundown of this. So style, I think, is super, super important. And remember, I'm learning all of this in friendship. I'm not doing this in the dating process. I'm not going to figure out if we're the right style while we're dating, because by that time I've already bought the outfit, right? So here's the next thing I look for, not only to see if it's the right style, but here's the third thing. I'm actually not going to give you the fourth, because the third is going to lead us to where we need to go in. I'm also checking the material, because what I'm figuring out is, if I can afford it and it's the right style, that's great, that's cool. But there is some material that irritates my skin. So if I put on this item of clothing, even if I want to try it on, because I know that this kind of clothing makes me scratch, makes me itch, I'm not going to get it because it's not the right material. Right style, I can afford it, but it's not the right material. And here's the thing that we end up doing, and here's what I'm going to suggest to you guys, that you cannot date someone who is not marriage material. I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying the person you date, you have to marry, but what I'm saying is you cannot date someone who is not marriage material. And here's the reason why. A lot of you guys are dating people who are not marriage material, and the material leaves a rash on your skin. And so now the next relationship you go into, people are wondering, what's that thing on your neck? Well, it's your last relationship because it was the wrong material. Some of us are going in our relationships because you're dating someone who's the wrong material, and you're constantly doing this and you're constantly adjusting your clothing because you shouldn't have even put it on in the first place, because that person is not the right material. So again, I want to make this clear. You cannot date someone, who is not marriage material. And you can discover if they're marriage material before you date. I want to say that again. You can discover that they are marriage material before you are dating. Now, the problem is a lot of us don't know what marriage material is, right? Like, we've got all different kinds of criteria for marriage material. Because what we're talking about today is specific, and this is a whole other talk. I hate to just introduce you with that. There's a whole other talk that I usually do on dating. Moody's Move for Love at 6 p.m. on Thursday, by the way, on my IG Live, if y'all want to check that out. But here's the thing. I think there's about 4 criteria for marriage material, and I'm going to give you one. If somebody does not have a vision for their life, they are not marriage material. You cannot date somebody that does not have a vision for their life. And so the question that we need to really ask today, and you can do it in the context of dating or not, is you need to ask yourself, are you actually marriage material right now where you are, right? Because if you don't have a vision and a purpose for your life, I'm going to tell you, you have no business dating anybody, because you're just going to be aimlessly moving in any kind of direction. You need to establish a clear-cut vision for your life. So that's what I want to help you guys be able to do today. Not simply for the purpose of dating, though, but actually for the purpose of your life. You need to have vision for your life. And I think also for your love life as well, too, because if you do not have a vision, you are not marriage material. So what do we mean by a vision, right? What does it mean to have a vision for your life? A vision is a clear mental picture. Clear is the word of what could be, fueled by the conviction that it should be. So I'm going to say that again. Vision is a clear mental picture. So I've got this picture in my mind of what could be, but then I'm fueled by the conviction that it actually should be. So what this means is, in other words, is I've got a picture of what something I want to be in life, but I'm also convicted that what I want actually should be that way. And that's the idea of what vision is. The second thing when it comes to this idea of vision is a preferred future. It's a destination. And vision always stands in contrast to the world as it is, right? So this is this preferred future. It's a destination that I'm trying to get to, and it usually stands in contrast to the way that things are. The way my life is, the way the world is, my vision is in contrast to that, because it's not the way it is, but my vision says this is how it could be, and I'm convicted that it should be. So here's a big thing that's huge about vision. Vision demands change. Like, vision means something is going to be different. And so if there's a vision in my life, what I'm literally saying is the person that I see in the mirror, I'm not satisfied with. Not because I'm this insecure person I'm constantly trying to, or a perfectionist constantly trying to adjust things. But no, I'm sitting here saying, look, my life can be better. There's more I can be. There's a place that I want to go. And I need to change some things in order to get there. So this idea of vision implies movement. Your life should be constantly moving in the direction of the thing that you think should be and could be. All right. Here's the other thing that we want to say also about vision. The idea of, like, where does this vision kind of begin? Vision will begin with a legitimate concern. It begins with, like, this legitimate concern. I think the best way to explain that, there's this incredible cartoon called Popeye the Sailor Man. And if you remember Popeye, he was this dude, had these big old arms, but the rest of his body was like super small. Like he never did leg day in the gym. And he had this girlfriend, Olive Oil, and Olive Oil, all the dudes were after her. And it was crazy because Olive Oil had one hairstyle. She put her hair in a bun. That's it. She never changed it. But all the dudes were after her. And she was just a stick figure too. She could have put on any apple bottom jeans, nothing like that. She was just boom. But Olive Oil, I think, understood that if all you are is a body, you really ain't nobody. Somebody's gonna catch that next week, right? But here's the thing. One episode, Olive Oil is kidnapped and tied up by Bluto. Popeye comes and he tries to rescue Olive Oil, gets beat up in front of his girl. And to add insult to injury, what Bluto begins to do is he begins to jump on Popeye. But this is the biggest mistake that Bluto could have ever made in his life, because inside of Popeye's shirt, there's some spinach. And the more he began to jump on Popeye, the more he pushed the spinach out of Popeye's shirt. Spinach flies out of his shirt. Popeye opens up his mouth, swallows the spinach, and then he stands up and he does that little laugh. Get. And then he looks at Bluto and he says these awesome words, my favorite words on the show. He says, "I've had all I can stands and I can't stands no more." And then he begins to beat down Bluto. And here's the thing that we've got to understand, that vision begins when we can look at something in the world, when we can look at something in our lives, and we can declare, "I've had all I can stands and I can't stands no more." No more racism, no more sexism, no more lackadaisical Christianity, no more me sleeping in until 12 o'clock, no more me living in my parents' house. I've had all I can stands and I can't stand anymore. Vision begins when there is something that bothers us. And what I've discovered is that people in life who don't have vision are people who are okay with the status quo. People in life who don't have vision are not bothered by the things that are taking place around them. They found this place of comfortability, and they're literally just sitting there and they're not able to move because nothing concerns them. But vision comes from a place of concern. Vision comes with something that bothers you. And so if you start thinking about it, one of the reasons that people become even doctors, I'm gonna use that very, very loosely, is because there's something that bothers them about people not being well. When people become lawyers, there's something that bothers me about people not being able to get justice. When I become a pastor, there's something that bothered me about the fact that people were not understanding and appreciating who it was that Christ was. So how does vision begin? It begins with a legitimate concern. You look at something and you say, it could be this way, it should be this way, and now I'm going to move and change things in my life so that it can be that way. That's where vision does begin. But also vision provides some things, right? So vision provides motivation. The mundane things in our lives now begin to matter because we can see how they fit into the overall vision. When you see people who lack motivation, they are usually people who do not have vision. So if you really think about it, I remember when I was, in seminary, and I gotta tell you, seminary was a very interesting experience outside of my friends, because I was like, man, like this thing is so mundane. It's literally undergrad all over again. What are they really teaching me? Like that was kind of my thought. But my vision for my life, which was to have international influence for the gospel, we talked about that yesterday, was so clear cut that even the mundane things of going to class now fit into the overall purpose of my life and my vision, because I knew where I was going. And I knew in order to get there, I had to get this degree from seminary. And so now this mundane work didn't become mundane anymore, because I said, you know what? This is actually helping me get to where I need to go. But if I didn't know where I was going, you can see how these things in my life would just be like, oh, whatever, this is a waste of time. But vision gave me motivation. So now I want to go to class. Now I want to show up because I understand how this, even though boring, even though what seemed insignificant, fit into the overall movement and vision of my life. The second thing that vision does is it also gives us direction for your life. With vision, it simplifies. I want to make that clear. It simplifies the decision-making in your life. Anything that moves towards the vision is something you should do. Anything that does not move towards the vision is something that you should not do. And here's the thing that I got to tell you. When you don't have vision, you say yes to a lot and no to little. But when you do have vision, you say no a lot and yes to little, because now I'm asking myself the question, if I spend my time here, if I go and date this person, if I do this, how does that get me closer to my destination? But there are so many of us who allow so many people into our lives, so many things into our lives without vision. You don't, and that's why you can take this job. That's why you can sign up for this, sign up for that, do this, do this. This is why your time is all over the place, because you don't have a clear direction for where you're going. And why don't you have a clear direction? You don't have a clear destination. And if you don't have a clear destination, that means you do not have a clear vision. Vision makes decisions easy. It is easy for me to say no to certain speaking engagements, because if the speaking engagement doesn't fit in line with my vision, I'm not going to do it. If it does, we can't do it. But vision makes things a lot clearer. The other thing that vision helps us do as far as direction is it helps us prioritize our values. A clear vision is going to have the power to bring what's most important. Listen to what I said, not what's most urgent, but what's most important to the forefront of my life. A lot of us are living our lives based on the urgent, what's coming up now, what's right in our face. And we're making a lot of decisions based on what's urgent and missing out on what's important. But when you have vision, you're able to look and say, this is what's important, and I'm going to bring that to the forefront of my life, right? So vision is going to help you weed out what you should and should not be doing in your life. I want to read this exactly this way. Without vision, there is no relational, financial, or moral compass. Consequently, we end up making foolish decisions. Sometimes the reason we make these horrible choices in life is because we don't know where we're going. Because you see, when I know where I'm going and I'm clear on that, where I end up asking myself the question is, man, will this decision right here affect my destination? And if the answer is yes, then guess what? I don't make the decision. But if I don't know a destination, I'll just make whatever decision comes in my mind. And here's the last thing, really tying into where we're going to be landing today, is vision will also give you purpose. When you have a clear-cut vision, you have a reason to wake up in the morning. I love what Eric Thomas says. I don't need to alarm clock. My purpose wakes me up, right? Like, I know why I get up in the morning, because I have this purpose, and my purpose is connected to my vision. Vision reminds us that I matter. Without me, what could be and should be won't be. Vision gives you an important link between your current reality and your future. And that's what vision is able to do. It's able to give us this incredible, incredible sense of purpose. Now, speaking of purpose, here's what I think is important, is this idea of being able to uncover and understand a little bit more of what our purpose is, right? And so I want to look at something for a second here, and I'd love to be able to, if that's all right, if you guys can give me the capability to share my screen. Can I do that? Because I want to pull something up for you guys. So if I don't have that capability, do me a favor and let me do that. I want to share my screen here. There we go. Boom. Thank you. Let's do that. I want you guys to look at this for a second. Let's check that out. All right. So everybody knows what this, everybody probably wants to experience success, right? Success is defined simply as this, the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And so when we establish what our purpose is, and I want to suggest to you that your purpose is not what you do, it's actually who you are, right? Purpose is not what you do, it's actually who you are. I don't want you to have a purpose of doing, I want you to have a purpose of being. And the way that you can establish this idea of a purpose of being is ask yourself the question, if I were to plan my funeral and I've got all the music and stuff together, there's a section usually where people get a chance to have remarks. In order to understand what your purpose is, I want you to write out what you would like people to say about you at that section in your funeral. I know it sounds really morbid, but say, at my funeral, here's what I want people to say. And I came to the conclusion that if at my funeral, all people talk about is how good of a pastor I was, then that's not something I want for my life, because that's not my purpose. My purpose was not simply to be a good pastor. The other thing that's important about your purpose not being linked to a profession is what happens when the profession goes away. Does that mean my purpose is gone now? So for example, remember I told you guys yesterday what my purpose is: international influence for the gospel. I don't need to be a pastor to do that. I don't even need to work for the Adventist church to do that. I just want international influence for the gospel. So that's not a job, that's a thing, that's a sense of being. And so I looked at, how do I have purpose, international influence for the gospel? I've got to live a life of integrity. I've got to live a life of motivation. And so I'm not going to give you guys my whole breakdown, but that's the thing. And you can take away whatever job you want. That's not going to allow my purpose to stop being. And so I want you guys rather to look at purpose as who you are as a person. And what do I want people to say at my funeral? I want them to talk about the kind of father I was. I want them to talk about how I lived my life. I don't want them to talk about the jobs that I did. I want them to talk about how I lived my life. So that's a good way for you to establish purpose. Now, when you look at this idea of success, the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And so we're always kind of looking at success as, here's my purpose, which is usually a thing or a few goals, getting out of debt. And we think that the idea of success is based on reaching a certain amount of goals. That's cool, but let me stretch your mind a little bit when it comes to this idea of success, okay? Where we operate, if you guys see this graph here, is about 25%. You see this whole thing? Let's say this is our whole capacity for operation in life. We operate at about 25%, but look at that 75%. That's our God-given capacity. And out of our entire God-given capacity, we're kind of only operating over 25%. What I would like to suggest to you success should be, and purpose and all that should be linked into this, is that instead of us looking at success as achieving a bunch of goals, what if you looked at success as operating in 75% or more of your God-given capacity? Now, I don't know what those results look like, but what I'm saying is that you have a God-given capacity. He has given you a capacity to operate in your life at a super high level. You're only operating usually between 20 and 25% of that. I want to suggest to you that success is going to be when you can operate more in your God-given capacity. Like, if God is who he says he is, then we should be able to do exceedingly or abundantly in our lives more than we can ask for a thing. I mean, are we serious about this Christian thing, or is this just a really cool Zoom thing that we're doing? Because remember what Jesus said, I've walked on water, I've given sight to the blind, I've raised the dead. Oh, and y'all think that's tight? Greater things will you do than what you've seen me do. Are y'all kidding me? So I'm sitting here asking myself the question, as great as I've been able to do as things at pastoring and things I've been able to do in my life, I'm recognizing that I'm still not operating to the fullest of my God-given capacity. And that's what I want for you guys. But you've got to understand, well, what is my God-given capacity? And that's usually where your vision and your purpose is going to come from. God is going to say, here's where I want you to go. Here's the capacity you have in me to get there. And if you're not operating at that God-given capacity, you're not successful. I don't care how much money you're making at that 25%. I don't care how much the world thinks you're successful at that 25%. We need to start redefining success by asking the question, am I personally operating in my God-given capacity? That's it. And you got to figure out what that is too. And the only way you're going to know your God-given capacity is to know the God who's giving you the capacity. Here's the next thing we want to do, because I'm trying to get through time so we can get through your questions. How do I help live out my purpose? Surround yourself with those on the same mission as you. Too many of y'all were hanging with people who are not trying to go where you're going. And so they're not helping you get there. They're literally preventing you from getting there. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you saw a pack of lions rolling with sheep? Like, you don't see that, because lions got a different mission. They've got a different thing. They're the kings of the jungle. The sheep are just sitting there timid. But this lion is like, I can't roll with anybody but lions because I'm the king and I've got a mission, and I'm only with those people around me who are on that same mission. And so here's the thing I want to suggest to you. Jesus Christ, if you notice, had 12 people he hung out with most of the time. And so he's got this 12. But then when it came to Gethsemane, how many people he taken to Gethsemane? Not all 12, he took 3. And so what I'm saying is there are some people who are in your 3 that need to be moved to your 12. And there are some people in your 12 that need to be moved to your 72. Some people in your 72 that need to be moved out of your life. Not everybody is going to be in your core, and not everybody should be in your 12. What I'm suggesting to you is that your 12 and your 3 should be consistent of people who are on the same mission as you. And when I say same mission, I don't mean they have to do the exact same thing, but you cannot be with somebody in your core group that has no desire for vision or purpose. They might have a different vision and a different purpose, but they at least know that I'm going somewhere. But if you are surrounding yourself with people who just don't care about that stuff, you're never going to be able to live out your God-given capacity. Here's the last thing we want to give you. How do you identify your core? Because my core has changed my life. Ask the question, what is the kind of person you want to be? Who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with currently? Right? These are all questions to identify your core. Do they match who you want to become in the future? Are the people you're spending most of your time with, do they match who you want to become in the future? Who are the top 5 people who embody the qualities that you desire? And how can you increase contact with them? Let me tell you one last thing. I'm gonna leave that up if you guys want to write something like that down. This one psychologist came up with this equation. He said, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. That's who you are. And if that's the case, then we got to be selective of who we are spending our time with, because I want to live out my God-given capacity. I want to achieve my purpose. I've got vision and I want to move forward. And if there are people in my life that don't have that same mentality, then they got to go. Some of us are hanging with just too many people that ain't going nowhere. And it doesn't mean that I don't have you in my life. It just means you can't be in my 12 and you sure enough can't be in my 3. I'm still gonna be cool with you, you nice, but you are not the ones I'm spending most of my time with, because I can only surround myself with people who are on the same mission. So guys, that's what we want to be able to do to get you to this place of experiencing and living your purpose. I know that was like drinking water out of a fire hose, but I know there's a lot of conversation that wants to come. So let's go ahead and open that up for some questions.
Thank you, Michael, for that lovely sermonette. If any of you guys have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand, or you can write inside the chat as well. So,
hi, I just had a quick question. In regards to like the people you're around, some of my best friends aren't, well, they believe in God, but they aren't as religious as myself. Do you feel like that can be problematic, or do you think if they are, as individuals, are on the same kind of life, they want the same sort of things out of life as you, so they still want to get married, they still want to have good careers, etc.? Do you think that may be a problem in the end, or do you think?
Yeah, so I think you actually personally have to ask yourself the question, like, what kind of influence do they have on your life? Now, I'm not going to assume that just because they're not Christians means they can't have a positive influence. But if they are having a kind of influence, because other Christians can have a negative influence, the bigger question I would ask is, what influence do they have on my life? And for example, if you get into a clutch moment and you find that the influence they have pulls you away from a value of your Christianity, then they don't need to be that tight in your circle. So the people I have in my circle, they still have issues, but there's a very core value that we share, in that the manner in which we can deal and solve these is also prayer, right? And also accountability. So I would ask myself the question, do the people in my circle who might not be believers, when the rubber hits the road and I get my Gethsemane moments, are they able to help me tap into my value of spirituality, or do they pull me away into another direction?
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
does anyone else have any other questions? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Everybody is welcome to ask. Okay, cool. So there's a question. Is there a difference between purpose versus calling?
Yeah, that's a good one. I really wouldn't think so, because I would think you would be called to your purpose, right? Um, so I think calling might just be another way of saying purpose. So I'm going to say no. I really don't think that there's really a difference. I think your purpose and your calling are going to be right here. They're the same thing. It's just another way of saying the same thing.
Wow, that is powerful. Okay, so how do you support a young person who appears not to have a vision or a purpose? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think just do some of the things that we did today. So like there were certain things we asked, like a vision and a purpose bothers you. So ask them, hey, what are the things that bother you in the world? If you could change anything in the world, what would it be? Ask them more questions that allow them to kind of figure out, okay, what direction do I want to go? And don't just ask them, what do you love to do? Because somebody could love to do something that's not your purpose. So there's a lot of us to do that. I think the enemy loves to get us to do things that we love, but doesn't really match what it is that God has called us to be able to do. So I think you need to surround them and start to lead them and guide them in getting to that place of, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it's mostly by asking questions, and then also placing them in positions to try things so that they can see, oh, okay, this works. Okay, you know what? I see doors are opening. I like this, or whatnot. So I think that's what's very important to do.
Wow. This is so good. I'm literally trying to write notes as well and read the questions, because everything you're preaching is just so amazing. Okay, so can I have more than one purpose?
I mean, there's several ways to look at that, because remember, we're talking about purpose is like your reason for being. And it's almost like saying, do I have several reasons for existing? I think we have several things that we do in life that connect us to that one ultimate purpose. But I'm going to lean on, no, I don't think you have more than one purpose. I think Christ, when he came to earth, had one purpose. Now, there was a lot of things that happened on the way to that purpose, but everything that he did was about him accomplishing the salvation of mankind. So I think we have one purpose, but everything that happens in our life helps us accomplish that. But I don't think we have multiple purposes.
Okay. How would you approach someone who you would want to include into your circle?
Yeah, man, listen, I think, and I love that. That's really a great question. I really think it's as bold as going to the person and don't just say, hey, I just want to hang out with you, but say, hey, look, I have noticed this in your life, and this is who I want to be. And I see that you seem to be wanting to be that same person. And I really just think that, man, if we connected with one another, it would be like iron sharpening iron. And I would love to see if, man, we could hang out, spend some time, share our ideas and concepts, build a friendship, and see what God can do when we're both in his hands. I would just approach somebody. I mean, I know that seems weird, but man, you got to do it. And when you do that, it changes the game. There's this book called Forget a Sponsor, Get a Mentor. Forget a mentor, get a sponsor, excuse me, or Everyone Needs a Sponsor. It's one of those two. I can't remember the exact title. But the idea is the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. If I'm a mentor, I'm sitting there just talking to you and I'm pouring into you and doing those kinds of things. But if I'm a sponsor, I'm actually taking you and saying, hey, look, you need to put this person on. I'm going before meetings on your behalf. Why do I say that? Because sponsors don't look all the time for people to sponsor. But usually sponsors are approached by somebody, have been connected with somebody, and then have bought into who they are to the point where they're like, oh yeah, I got you. Let's do this. So that's why I think that's super important for you to be able to do.
All right. Thank you so much. We have one anonymous message that's asking how practically can we discover our purpose or figure it out? What ways can we go about finding out what our purpose is?
I think some of the things that we talked about today, what is it that bothers you? What keeps you up at night? What is it that you feel like if you could never do again, it would bother the living mess out of you? For example, if I never could pastor a church again, I would be okay, right? Because my purpose is not simply pastoring. But if I could never share with people in this kind of environment where I'm pouring into them, where I'm taking stuff that I've experienced, my life, what I've known, and being able to share it with them, then I would be like, yo, there's something going on. And sharing is books, sharing is Instagram Live, sharing is connection and relationship. And I don't need the pastor to do that. So I know pastoring is not my purpose, but pastoring is one of the things that helps me live my purpose. That's all it is. Pastoring is the tool to my purpose. It's not my purpose though. So if you find something that was taken away, you wouldn't know what to do. You'd be like, oh my goodness, what do I do with my life? That's where I think you know a good part of your purpose is when you can't think of anything else you could do. I could think of a lot of other things I could do with pastoring. But the thing that I know I cannot think that I can't go without is being able to share Christ in the manner that I'm sharing.
Powerful. And then we have one more private question. Can you make a difference in a church that seems to have no vision?
No. You have to help them get vision first. If your church has no vision, the difference you can make is helping them to get vision. There has been no true success in life, period, without vision. And Adventists define success, remember, differently. Sometimes success for us is when you get Donnie McClurkin into your church and 800 people show up. We're like, yeah, look how many people in the building. Then next week you're back to 30. Success for us is when you've got Adventists who transfer from other churches to go to your church, even though the people that live 3 minutes from your church don't even attend. So no church has legit success without vision. So no, you cannot accomplish much in a church that has no vision or direction because you would just be going everywhere.
Fair enough. And then the last one I've got so far is, should my purpose make me happy?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's your why. This is why you exist. Like, this is why you don't need an alarm clock to get up. This is why you don't sleep in, because you're like, oh no, this is what I'm here. This is what I'm put on this earth to do. And not only should it make you happy, it gives you tough skin. One of the people that my best friend, one of my best friends is Devon Franklin, and he's a Christian Seventh-day Adventist who's in Hollywood. So you know how some people think about him. And I've always wondered, like, how do you handle all of the negativity that you get? And one of the things he said, because I know what God put me on this earth to do. And so no matter what human beings say, it is clear that God put me in Hollywood to make films to glorify him. That's it. And so no matter what anyone says about it, I don't care, because I know what I'm here for. And so that's why your purpose should bring you joy and happiness, because this is why you get up. It doesn't mean you're always going to be passionate about it, because sometimes it's going to be tough, but you don't need necessarily that passion, that emotional thing, because it's like, this is my why, this is why I exist. Now, I do believe that passion does come with purpose, but I don't believe that without that everything you're passionate about is your purpose. I'm passionate about video game. That's not my purpose, like, at all. But when you hear me, I'm passionate about sports. That's not my purpose. So, that's why I always like to delineate between the two.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so next question is, what makes you sure when something is your purpose?
Yes, I think the same thing we kind of talked before is just when you know that you could not see yourself doing something else. Look to see, could I see myself doing something else? And if you can see yourself doing something else, then that's probably not your purpose.
Okay. Next question is it wrong to believe in the saying, if it's for you, then it's for you?
Yeah, because I think that just kind of sometimes produces laziness. Like, well, if it's for me, it's for me. Well, yeah, some stuff is for you that you miss out on because you're making some boneheaded decisions. You're not getting up early in the morning. You're not grinding. You're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. And so you can always lean back on, well, it must not be for me. Well, no, it was for you, but you were just too trifling to get what was for you. So I think it's so funny. it could have been very easy in the book of John. Well, you know what? Lazarus is dead. Jesus didn't show up. That's just not for us. But Jesus shows up and he says, roll the stone away. And they rolled it away, and then they get a resurrection. Because what God was saying, yes, this is for you. This resurrection is for you. I'm going to hook it up, but I'm not going to roll the stone away. And so there's a lot of stuff that's for us that Jesus is waiting at the tomb of whatever that goal is, whatever that purpose is, or whatever that thing is for you. It's sitting inside the tomb. And Jesus is like, I'm going to do my part. It's for you. It's sitting right in there. But I do resurrections. I just don't do stones, right? Like I don't do the stones. Y'all can do the stone. I'll do the resurrection. So I think those are the things that are happening in our lives where we need to look at and say, okay, that's for me. It's inside of this tomb. Let me roll the stone away and then let Jesus do his part.
Amen. Next question is, our purpose as a Christian is to share the gospel, but could we do this through our passions, talents, hobbies, example, through art, singing, etc., to help spread the gospel?
Yeah. Remember we talked a little bit about this yesterday, if you missed. I am a Christian. So whatever I do will connect with it. Outside of, obviously, there's certain things that just aren't Christian, period, in the sense of, you know, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm a Christian, so let me go into pornography and spread the gospel that way. So I don't be ridiculous like that. So here's the principle that I'm saying. I'm a Christian, so whatever I do is going to carry those Christian principles and values with me. So whether I'm in graphic design or whatever it is that I'm doing, who I am as a person is a follower of Jesus. That will manifest itself in the work that I do. Even if my flyer doesn't have Jesus on it, my Christian principles will be executed in how well I work, in how I'm on time, how I do my work, how I interact with people. And so I'm going to be spreading the gospel, not because I'm making Christian flyers, but because in the space that I'm in, people are experiencing my Christianity.
Right. So the next question is, would you recommend having a mentor to help with getting to know our purpose?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's what I, help people with, too, right? Like that's what my life coaching sessions are about, like, hey, let me help you discover your purpose. So absolutely, you should do that. And one of the things I love for people to do that, invest in yourself, because when you answer that question, let's say you spent some money having someone help you answer that question, you've actually saved a lot more money than trying to go in all these other different directions and it not working out, right? So get someone who can help you answer that question. And that's exactly what a mentor or someone like that could do. Absolutely.
Amen.
Thank you. We have one question from the website, and it says, how can you free yourself from someone hindering your purpose you have to communicate with daily?
So there's two things. You're saying you have to communicate with them. That's different. Sometimes, let me give you two examples because there could be someone on the other end. There was this one guy, right? And he was went to the restroom. This is before these automatic restrooms. This is when these automatic restrooms just started to come. And he'd used the restroom and he didn't go number one. He went number two. I'm using this on purpose. And so he was sitting there and he could not see how to flush the toilet. And his mess was sitting right there in the toilet. But he was sitting there and he did not want to leave without knowing that his mess was going to be done away with and gone. And what the guy didn't understand is that the only way to get rid of his mess was not to try to fidget around the mess, but was to literally turn around and walk away. Because when he turns around and walk away, the automatic flush gets rid of all the mess. There were some people in your life who are mess, and you're sitting there trying to maneuver how to deal and handle the mess, when sometimes the answer really is turn around and walk away and then watch that mess just get flushed out of your life, right? That's number one. Number two, if there's someone you have to talk about on a daily basis and you have to connect with on a daily basis, what is important for you to do there is limit the space that they have here. Don't let them live here, right? I'm going to interact with you, but I put boundaries up. And these boundaries are going to be as such that I'll communicate with you, but I'm not going to let you get into a space where you start to affect my well-being and so on and so forth. So some people you have to be around, but they don't have to be here. I have to interact with you, but you don't live in my head rent-free.
Wow. So that shows boundaries are needed that can influence.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to encourage you guys, remember to send in your questions on here privately to Banner or I, or online as well. We have a few more questions coming through. Do you think your purpose can change?
I mean, it could. I think so. I do. I think sometimes at different stages in life, it does change. Someone could argue, no, that's always been your purpose and you just haven't gotten there yet. But I would think that it could change. I would say that. I think it could.
I actually have a question for you, Pastor. So in order to find your purpose, what were some of the things that you did to get to that point?
Yes, I would just walk. I experienced different things. So as I'm experiencing different things, I'm learning what doors are being opened, what, the success I'm having, like all those different things are happening while I'm trying these different things. So I had my hands in a lot of stuff during my early years of life. And so I think that helped me really more than anything. I just had my hand in there and I saw that there was a consistent theme in my life that being able to share and influence people was something that I was able to do. And I found that, man, if that's something that I have in me to be able to do, I want to do it for the right reasons and for the right person.
Amazing. Okay, so does anybody have any more questions? You can send them privately to me or Josephine.
I have one more question just sent in. They kind of go hand in hand. What if my girlfriend is obstructing my purpose, / if my parents are against my purpose, how can I follow through with it?
If it's your girlfriend, bye. We'll find somebody else. Peace. If you're with my purpose, I mean, why are you wasting your time? If it's your parents and you don't live with them, then you just need to distance yourself a little bit and explain to them, hey, you know what? Right now, this is where I'm going, and I'm not really getting that support and a lot of negativity from you. So I love you, I respect you, but at the same time, I need to create this space where I can continue to do what I know that God has called me to do.
So you think there's no way of working through it with the partner?
Oh, I mean, no, you could talk through it, like talk through and say like, hey, what's going on? But if ultimately they're not there and they're helping you live your purpose, like don't try and fight that. Because what's going to happen is you'll secretly resent them if you don't get to your purpose, because then you'll be like, oh, it was you who did it. Also, someone who's not supportive of your purpose, always anti, I always think too, gives you a secondary built-in excuse. Well, I know I didn't get there because the person I'm with really wasn't helping me, wasn't pushing me. Well, remove the excuse. Be with someone who gets you, understands your purpose. Because let me tell you what marriage is. If you're dating someone who doesn't get your purpose, marriage is really about two people coming together and helping each other become the best versions of themselves possible. So my spouse, when I get married, should be better because I'm in her life. And I should be better because she's in mine. Now, what will better for me look like? Me living my purpose. If I don't know what that is, if you're in the way of that, then that's a problem.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that, Pastor. We're now going to move on to the special item, which is a piece done by Kiedi. So, Kiedi, I'm going to hand it to you now.
Hi, everyone. My piece is entitled, What is Your Purpose? We were all created for a reason, don't you think so? Sometimes I wonder, what really is my purpose, my reason for being? I've tried to search all over for it. Sports? Nah, I get tired too quickly. My stamina is not great. Oh, maybe teaching? Nah, I don't think anyone will listen to me. What about art? I love it, but I'm not good at it. Okay, singing. My voice goes off key, can't keep up with the melody. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a purpose. I mean, I never really heard anyone say I was good at anything besides eating. But wait, what did God say? He said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." What if you have a gift that brings out the very best in you? See, the thing is, we keep searching for a purpose, asking for people's opinions, but our purpose is always with us. Thinking of it now, I realize that we need to listen to God and believe that we can do what He has created us to do. God could have given us the earth with everything already made and even better. But instead, He put the resources right there for us so that we can make something out of it. That's why we have elevators, airplanes, telephones, and so much more. We all have a purpose, whether it's to inspire, to teach, to give, to sing, to make someone smile, whatever it is. You have a reason to be here. We all have unique gifts and talents. When we find it, we should use it and we should make use of it to the best of our abilities. Let's not be the man who had many gifts and made use of none. Let's find our purpose and true calling and use it to bring honor and glory to God. Thank you.
Wow. Amen. Amen. That was so powerful.